Good evening, yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So before starting the session, I am uploading all the demo sessions to my YouTube channel as a public videos. I hope everyone is getting notifications, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you already subscribed and if you click the bell icon and turn on all notifications, right? So you'll be getting all the notifications as soon as I upload the video, right? So I'll be uploading like all the performance testing fundamentals as public videos. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. So before starting today's concepts, so let me give a quick recap for others. So we started this on Saturday on Vogati, right? On Vogati day. And then like yesterday I covered computer basics, right? No KYC where I know your computer. So I covered some computer basics in yesterday's session. Today I'm going to start a software development life cycle and I want to cover SDLC testing life cycle, right? And give an introduction to performance testing. Okay. So that would be the agenda for today. Right. So let me start. Let's start with software development life cycle, right? So this is a typical software development life cycle. Okay. So it starts with requirement analysis. It starts over here. Okay, let me use the spotlight. So it starts with requirement analysis. Means, for example, if someone want to, or if any organization want to develop a software, right? They want to develop some web application or a mobile application or anything, right? So it starts with requirement analysis. First, the development team will be collecting the requirements from the business analyst team, right? Every organization or every project will have someone called business analyst team. So development team will So development team will collect all the requirements first, and they will analyze the requirements, whatever requirements provided by the client, right? They will analyze the requirements and they will design the application. Who designs the application? There will be an architect, development architect, who will be designing the application. So when we say designing, so the architect and the development team decide together like which programming language to use, what is the database, what should be the UI, what is the language that programming language that should be used by you for UI development and all this backend development and database, right? So that all will be discussed in the designing phase. And now once the design is fixed, right, then starts implementation phase. So implementation is nothing but developers will start writing the code for that project, right? And next comes the testing phase. As once the development is completed, of course, this is a waterfall model. Okay. Now, what is meant by waterfall model? I'll come to that. However, in this picture, right? So if you observe here, implementation means developers writing the code. That is implementing the design, whatever design is finalized, right? Developers will be implementing the design or writing code as per the design. And once the design is completed, testing will be started. Of course, this is not a valid scenario nowadays. Nowadays are like from couple of years, around like 10 years, more than 10 years, testing is started along with the development. So that is the only change here, guys. So that's why I said this is a typical software development life cycle. Okay. So once the development of the project is completed, testing used to be started previously. However, right now, there is a small change here. So testing will be started, software testing will be started as soon as the development starts. Clear, guys? Now, once testing is completed, the application goes into production. That is evaluation phase. Okay. That application goes into production. It will go right. These are typical software development life cycle. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Right. So this is how a software, will be developed. Any software or any application, any web application or a mobile application, right? Or a desktop application will be developed. These are the different phases in the software development. Is it clear, guys, or any queries?
Clear, sir.
Right. Now, so we are interested in this testing phase. So we are, we are not bothered about designing phase or implementation phase or evaluation phase or requirement gathering, but we are interested in testing phase, right? Now let's understand what what happens in the testing phase, or what are the different phases in testing. Before going to that, this is my favorite quote about testing. So to tell somebody that they are wrong is called as criticism, and to do so officially is called as testing. Right? Hope you liked it. Okay. If you like it, click the like button at at the end, at the bottom of the video. Each video, I'm doing some self promotion. Yes. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So now we are interested in this testing phase, right? So let's discuss what happens in the testing phase. So this is a typical testing life cycle. Again, like I have listed out some important phases in testing, or important types of testing. Okay. So I'll go to the slideshow mode. So the first type of testing that will be done is called unit testing, right? And it will be done by developers, right? This unit testing will be done by developers. Yeah. So now let's assume that developers started writing the code, right? And as soon as developers, let's assume that that is a Java application, or they are using Java as a programming language to develop the software, right? Now, in Java, if you have some basic knowledge of Java, in Java, piece of code is called as a class, Java class. I hope most of you know that, right? Any piece of code, a small piece of code, or development happens in the form of different classes, right? So as soon as a developer develops some Java class, right, they do something called unit testing. So basically, unit, what is the meaning of unit, guys? A small piece that is called as an unit, right? So as soon as developers write some code, right, developers themselves do some testing called as unit testing, and it is also called as white box testing. Okay. So I will discuss like why it is called as, why is it called as white box testing, and what is black box testing. We'll discuss that soon. So for now, remember that unit testing is something which is done during the development phase of an application. And who does this unit testing, guys? Or white box testing is done by developers themselves, right? So this is done by developers themselves. Clear, guys?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Right? So, and this is called as white box testing. Why it is called as white box testing is developers know in and out of the application. They know everything. They know all the internals of the application, right? So that's why this is called as a white box testing. Okay. So once I explain black box testing, then you will understand clearly why it is called as white box testing, and what is white box and what is black box testing. And unit test isolate a section of code and verify its correctness. So as soon as developers write some piece of code, right, they do something called unit testing. And what is the purpose of doing that unit testing? To verify the correctness, or to verify that small piece of code, right? To verify whether it is working as expected or not, right? So that is unit testing. And a unit may be an individual function, method, procedure, module, or object, not required for you. If you are from computers background, or if you have some Java or C++ programming language, then you will be knowing about already. You may be having an idea about what is a function, what is method, what is procedure, module, or object. If you don't know any of these terms, nothing to worry, right? So we are not going to see. This unit testing is done by developers. We are not going to do that. So you will learn what is a function, method, procedure, and all in the training, okay, over the next few weeks, right? For now, understand that unit testing is done by developers, and it is also called as white box testing. That's it. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? The next type of testing is called as integration testing, right? What is the general meaning of integration, guys? What is the general meaning of integration? Okay.
Adding something.
Right. Combining something, right? So once I share the PPT, right? So you can right click and use this option called explore integration. It will open up the Google search results. Here you can see, right? The act or process of an instance are integrating, right? Or else general meaning. What is the general meaning of integration? Let me. Yes. What is the meaning of integration? Process of integrating, right? Or else it's a combination. Here you can see combination. Clear? Now, let's understand what is this integration testing. So let's assume that let's take this example. Okay. Some team of developers are working on developing this Gmail application, right? A team of developers, obviously one resource cannot develop all this code, right? See, there are different parts in this Gmail. If you observe here, Hangouts is one part, Google Meet is another. So one team will be working on Hangouts part. One team or one resource may be working on Google Meet, and one team may be working on this, primary social and promotion step, right? So in that way, there will be a team of developers who will be developing each piece of code. Clear, guys? Understood? Or let me,
Yes,
one team may be developing here on developing this Hangouts part. Another team or another resource may be developing this, writing code for this Google Meet part. And one more developer may be writing code for this, these options, right? And one more team may be working, or one more person, one more resource may be working on this actual inbox part, right? Clear? Now, and at the end of the day, all these pieces should be combined together, right? All these pieces of code should be combined together. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That, once it is combined, that makes your complete, Gmail inbox, whatever you are seeing, right? Now, once all these pieces of code, as we discussed, right, each one developer, this will be done by different developers. Now, once all these pieces of code are combined together, right, we have to do this, test the software again. And that is called as integration testing. As simple as that. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So, and it is done in an environment called SIT environment, System Integration Testing Environment. SIT stands for System Integration Testing Environment. Clear, guys? Right? And this is done by integration testing is defined as type of testing where software modules are integrated logically, combined logically, and tested as a group. Clear? First, developers will be writing one piece of code. They will test that as part of unit testing, right? Later on, all these modules or all these software, different pieces of code will be combined together and tested as a group, and that is called as integration testing. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And a typical software project consists of multiple software modules coded by different programmers. That's what I explained now. A typical software project consists of multiple software modules coded by different programmers. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, so if you take any example, Amazon, you take Amazon.in or you take Facebook, right? There will be a team of developers working on that. And now, at the end of the day, we have to combine all those pieces of code, whatever written by different developers, right? So once they are combined together, right, they have to do integration testing to make sure that they are working as expected. Once the modules or software modules are combined together. Clear, case?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And this is called as integration testing. And next comes functional testing. Now, what is meant by functional testing? So before going to that, let's take one example for this integration testing. Okay, I will take some automobile manufacturing example. Okay, suppose if you take your bike or something, right? A two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, right? So headlights will be manufactured by one company, tires will be manufactured by one company, engine will be manufactured by another company, and so on. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Seats will be manufactured by another company, right? Your steering wheel, different components will be manufactured by different companies, right? And now before selling those products, right, before selling that headlight or engine or anything, right, they will test it. They will test as a unit, right? You see, you buy any product, even if you buy a pant or a trouser or a shirt, you see some sticker over there, right? Okay, tested or something. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? You see a small sticker like, right? Okay, tested means quality check is done, right? That's what it means, isn't it? So, and now once these automobile components are assembled together, again, they have to do testing, right? Whether they are working together, once they are combined together, once they are assembled, right? Whether they are working as expected or not. Anyone from mechanical background, guys?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, right? So you better understand, right? Right? So once these, all these, parts of the a vehicle or anything, right? Any device, any device, right? Once they are assembled together, again we have to do some testing. They will do some testing, right? And that is called as integration testing. Clear, guys? In the same way for software also, after combining different modules, right, we do something called integration testing. Clear, guys? And what is the purpose of this integration testing? The purpose is to expose defects in the interaction between these software modules when they are integrated. Once they are combined together, right, when they are interacting with each other, right? If there are any defects, to find out any defects in the interaction between these different software modules, we do this integration testing will be done by a separate team. Again, in some organizations, developers themselves do that. In some organizations, they will have a separate team for this. It depends on the organization to organization, right? Next comes functional testing. And functional testing is done in an environment called QA environment, right? Where QA stands for quality analysis or quality assurance. Clear? Functional testing is done in an environment called QA environment. Observe here. Unit testing is done in development environment. Integration testing is done in SIT environment, system integration testing environment. Functional testing is done in QA environment. Okay. Now, what is this functional testing? So functional testing is a type of black box testing where the system is tested against the functional requirements or specifications, right? Now, to explain, to help you understand this, let me take some example, okay? So I'll take Gmail example only, or Amazon example, or anything is fine. I'll take Gmail example, right? So you type gmail.com in the browser, right? And now you get some login page. And here you are supposed to enter your email ID or phone number. Yes or no? Right?
Yes,
For
sir.
example, I am entering my email ID. So I entered my email ID, and once we click on next button, what should happen now? Once we click next button, what happens?
You go to password.
Password.
Ask for password.
Right. If it is a valid email address, it will prompt for password. If it's not a valid email address,
Throw
suppose
an error message by saying, please enter valid.
right. Suppose I enter something like this, right? Something like this. Some invalid character. Sorry. 1 second. Please. So if I enter some junk characters like this, isn't it? 1 second. Suppose if I enter some junk characters like this, what should happen now if I click on next button?
Throw an error message.
Invalid.
It should throw an error message like this, right? And observe here it is highlighting in red color, right? And it's saying that enter a valid email or phone number, right? So, however, if you enter some valid email address like this, will it work? If I don't enter at gmail.com, will it work? This?
Yes.
It will work, right? So if you click on next, right, it is asking for password. It automatically appended that at gmail.com, right? Of course, right? Now, if you enter a valid email address, it should ask for password. If you enter an invalid email address, application should display some error message simply, right? So that is the functionality of this page. That is how it should work. Or this is the requirement of the, functional requirement or specification of that page. Now, testing this functionality of the application is called as functional testing. Testing this functionality means whether it is working as expected or not, right? Now, once I enter, if I enter a valid password, right, and it should, yeah, of course, it should take me to the next page. Otherwise, it should show some error message, isn't it? So that is the functional requirement of the application. Understood, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It will take me to the next page, right? So now testing this functionality, right? Giving some input and checking what output is the application is giving. That is called as functional testing, right? And functional testing is a type of black box testing where the system is tested against the functional requirements or the specifications. Now, why is it called as black box testing, right? Why is it called as black box testing? So basically this functional testing will be done by a functional testing team. There will be a separate team for doing this functional testing, right? They need not, or they will not know any code or what programming language is being used or what is the database and all this. They don't know anything about the internals of the code, how the page is developed and all, right? So everything is a black box for them, kind of black box for them. They don't know how the code works and what is the programming language and all, right? So that's why it is called as black box testing. Whereas white box testing is done by developers. Why is it called as white box testing?
They clearly
He knows
knows what
everything
happens
about
in
code.
the actual
Right.
application.
Developers clearly know how it is developed, what is the code, what is the programming language, all the internals of that application, right? That's why it is called as a white box testing. Clear, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. And now functions or features are tested by feeding them input and examining the output, right? Functions are features of an application. For example, here in the previous page, okay, in the previous page, if we enter a valid email address, it should log in. It should take me to the next page. If it is not a valid email address, it should throw an error message, right? So we feed some input, functional testing team feed some input and examine the output. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And functional testing ensures that software requirements are properly satisfied by the application. The requirements are properly satisfy the application or not. That will be done by functional testing team. And this environment, see, environment is nothing but group computers, some group of computers. That's it. Okay, hosting the application run a computers, that is called as environment. That's it, right? And functional testing is done in an environment called QA environment, where QA stands for
Quality assurance.
Analysis or
quality
assurance.
analysis or quality assurance, right? Now, the next type of testing is our performance testing, right? So before performance testing, we have all these different phases: unit testing, integration testing, functional testing, and all this. Next comes performance testing. So performance testing is a non-functional testing. So here in functional testing, we test the functionality of the application. Whereas in performance testing, it is a non-functional testing. We don't bother about, functional testing that's the job of QA team, right? That's the job of, this functional testing team, right? Of course, we also come under QA. We also fall under the big umbrella of QA, quality analysis. It is a non-functional testing to determine the application's speed, responsiveness, and stability of a computer, network, software program, or a device under a workload. You need not by heart all these. Understand the concepts. That's it, right? Performance testing is non-functional testing, first of all. Means functional testing, see, we are not bothered about functionality of the, of course, functional testing should be, the application should be functionally stable, right? And if functional testing should be done and the application should be functionally stable. But the main purpose of doing performance testing is to determine an application's, yes, speed, right? Speed means how fast the page is loading. Suppose you type gmail.com or amazon.in in the browser, right? Or facebook.com. So how fast you are getting the page? Or else if you are opening an app on a mobile, like Facebook, you are opening Facebook app on the mobile. How fast the app is opening? Or you post some message or you post some photos. How fast the, your transaction is completed, right? That is called speed. Speed, responsiveness, and stability of a computer, software program, or a device under a workload. So that is performance testing. And this performance testing is done in an environment called test environment, or few organizations call that as engineering environment. Okay. This performance testing is done in an environment called test environment, and few organizations call it as engineering environment. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So this is about performance testing, right? So what is the objective of doing performance testing? To find out an application speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. We will discuss that in the next slide. For now, remember that, understand what is the difference between functional testing and performance testing. I'll take a pause here. Any queries? If you have any queries, we'll discuss and move to the next slide. No queries?
No, sir. We can.
Okay. Now let's discuss performance testing in detail. Okay. How do we do performance testing? Right. So you understood how do we do functional testing? We get the software requirement specification and we test, like we give some input and examine the output. Suppose you are testing Amazon.in application. If you type Amazon.in, you should get some page like this, right? And suppose you search for some product. Okay. So I want to buy an iPhone. So I search for that and you should get the search results. So this is the input and this is the output. Yes or no? Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Clear.
sir.
this is the input for this search page and this is the output. Clear? Or this complete page, this is the output. So this is functional testing. Whether, if we give some input, what is the expected output? We check that, right? Functional testing is not so easy, guys. Okay. So, there will be, something called positive test cases and negative test cases and all those. Not as simple as as I explained just now. Clear? Right?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
what is non-functional testing? What is performance testing? Suppose you type Amazon.in, right? It took some couple of seconds or a fraction of a second to load this page, right? So in performance testing, we measure that page load time. What is the response time of the page? When I say response time, how many seconds it is taking to load this page, right? And suppose you search for some product here. You are doing another transaction. Observe here. This is what is meant by a transaction. Transaction means any user action is called as a transaction. Any user action which involves sending some request to the server is called as a transaction. Understood or no? I'll repeat one more time. Suppose you type facebook.com. So you are sending a request to Facebook server. That is one transaction, right? Now you got this page, right? So you got this login page. Suppose you enter credentials and pass credentials and click login, you will be logged into the application. And it takes certain time, right? It takes certain time. How to measure the time now? Suppose I want to measure like how much time it is taking to load this page or to log in. Right? First, let me check the credentials. Right. So this is functional testing. If you enter correct password, you should be able to log in. If you enter wrong password, it should not allow you to log in and display some error message. Now this is functional testing, right? Now what is performance testing? Okay, let me repeat the login step, right? I entered my credentials and I want to measure how much time it takes for login, right? So I'll show, anyone can do this. Anyone can measure the response time of this page by using some, inbuilt tool called developer tools. Let me show that. Go to more tools and launch this developer tools. Okay. Now click on login now. Observe here, this is browser developer tools. Any browser, you will have this developer tools in any browser. Right now I'm using Chrome browser, Google Chrome. So let me show you an Edge browser as well. Okay. No matter whatever browser you are using, you will have this something called developer tools, guys. Okay. Control Shift I is the shortcut for that. Control Shift I is the shortcut for that. Right. So this is in Edge browser. So any browser will have some inbuilt, it will have some developer tools by default, guys. Now let me click on login. Shall we click on login and see how much time the page takes? How much time it takes to log in? Right. Now you are able to log in. You are able to see the login page. Now observe here. It is measuring something here. Right. Still the page is loading, guys. That's why it is, this time is changing. Still, still the page is loading. Clear? Right. Now observe here. This is the response time of this page. Okay. Clear case?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is how we can measure the speed of the page. Okay. So now let's see for Amazon.in. Right. So let me open a new tab. Close this. Let me open a new tab and launch developer tools. What is the shortcut for that? Function F12. You can use F12 F12 on your keyboard to launch developer tools, or else Control Shift I. That is the shortcut for this developer tools. And observe here we are in network tag. Can everyone please open these developer tools on your machine? Open a browser and launch this developer tools, guys. Please do along with me, guys. Right? And let's type, let's visit this Amazon.in page. Now see here. So you are seeing the time is changing here, right? Now it took, how much time it took till now? It took some, still the page is loading, seems to be loading, right? So this is the response time of this page, finish time or load time. I'll explain the difference between what is this DOM content loaded and all this later on. Okay, we'll discuss that in detail in the coming up sessions. Okay, but there is a way to measure the page, response time of any page in the browser itself, and that is called as, what is that tool? Developer tools. In developer tools, you have different tabs. Observe here, I am in network tab. Please note this, I am in network tab now. Okay. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Is everyone able to launch this developer tools? Do this along with me, guys. Yes. So, most of the interviews start with these developer tools. Okay. So I know like some of my students attended interviews and, some interviews, I think last year, few of my students attended like interviews in HP for HP company, right? And HP or HCL, I don't remember exactly. So the interviewer asked 10 minutes completely on developer tools. Okay, the first 5 to 10 minutes, all the questions are on developer tools. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, so performance testing, now let's understand how do we do performance testing, okay? So this is how, if you want to measure the response time of a single page, yes, we can do like this, right? Now, let's come to this performance testing. How is the performance testing done at a high level? So as part of performance testing, suppose you want to test, any travel application or a net banking application or an e-commerce application, right? How many, there will be lakhs of users who will be using this e-commerce application, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir, no, guys.
Yes, sir.
There will be lakhs of users who will be using Amazon.in, right? Or yes, Facebook, or Flipkart, or IRCTC, Redbus, right? There will be lakhs of users who will be using, right? For your information, IRCTC will be used by, how many tickets will be booked India-wide, on IRCTC per day?
Don't know, sir.
Right. So IRCTC per day, there will, number of tickets will that will be booked per day is like around 18 to 20 lakhs per day. Right. And how many users will be using IRCTC per day is 4 to 5 lakh users will be using IRCTC application per day. Right. Facebook application has 20 million users, 20 to 30 million users across the globe. I think it will be more than 30 million now. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So when thousands and lakhs of users are using any application, right? How is the performance of the application? How fast the pages are loaded, right? Or suppose if you are doing some fund transfer, how much time it is taking to do fund transfer? Or suppose you want to search for some product, right? I want to search for some product like MacBook Pro, right? How much time it is taking to get the search results, right? So this is what we test in performance testing as part of performance testing. And suppose if some page is not loading faster, if there are pages not at all loading, sometimes you get this, page can't be displayed error kind of those, right? Page can't be displayed. Did anyone see those messages previously?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you face some errors in the application, what exactly is the root cause of that issue? What is causing that issue, right? This is what we do as part of performance testing. Okay, so we'll discuss more in detail. So first, let me give some introduction to performance testing. So how do we do performance testing? first of all, we simulate the important business flows of the application. Okay. We simulate the important business flows of the application. Right. Now, I'll take some examples. Let's assume that we have to do performance testing for SBI net banking application, right? Let's assume that there are around 10 lakh users across the country, right? For this online SBI.com or users who use this SBI net banking or else any net banking application is okay. Not only SBI, ICICIbank.com or HDFC.com, right? So if you are testing this, if you want to do performance testing for this net banking application, client will tell you how many users will be using these online applications per day, right? And client will also provide you. So okay, before going to that topic, can you list out like what are the tasks that you do with net banking application? What do you generally do with any net banking application?
First login.
Fund transfer.
Okay, someone said login. Yes, login, and what do you do after login?
Check balance.
Check balance.
Check balance, perfect. Right?
Mini statement.
Someone said
Fund
fund
transfer.
transfer. Next.
Mini statement.
Statements.
Yeah, account statement or mini statement or report. Right? Next.
Add beneficiary.
Add beneficiary.
Right. So if you want to do fund transfer, like we may need to add a beneficiary. Yes or no? Right? Of course, we can do fund transfer without adding beneficiary also. That is a different story. But generally, we will add beneficiary, isn't it? Unless until it is a one-time transfer, we generally add as the beneficiary. Next.
Paying bills.
Right. Bill payment. Again, in bill payment, we have different types of bill payment. Credit card bill payment. Yes or no?
And utility bill.
Utility bill payment.
Utility bill payment. Can I call that as utility bill payment? Right. Credit card bill payment. And what else?
The check
Loans.
service. Check.
Loan payment. Yes or no?
Yes.
Profile update.
Yes. Profile update. Once in a while, we may be updating our mobile number or email address or our address, residential address, right? That falls under profile update. So this is what you do normally with a net banking application. Yes or no? Right?
Yes,
now, this is what I mean to say here. Important business flows of your application. Right? This is what I mean to say. Business flows of your application. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
These are the critical business flows of the application, right? Or let's take some travel application like Redbus. All of us, might have having an account with right? Redbus, right? Any travel application like redbus.in or irctc.co.in. What is your favorite travel application or app? Application, web application or app? By the way, I hope everyone knows what is the difference between an application and an app. What is the difference between application and an app? Okay, so Sandhya is saying
can be,
she can't hear. Sandhya, are you able to hear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
apps can be used by mobile itself for this.
Right.
Application we can
So,
use through.
Right. So browser based, are called as application, web application, browser based applications, right? They are generally called as applications. And mobile based, whatever we use on mobiles, right?
Android
Those
apps.
are called as apps, right? So that is the difference between application and app. Now coming back to this, let's say we have some travel application or a travel app, right? Redbus app or IRCTC app or something, right? Now, what do you do generally with this travel application? What do you use it for? One more thing is, if you want to use this, right? If you want to do any of these activities, we have to do one thing before. What is
Registration. Register page.
Right, user registration. We have to register ourselves and create an account, right? User registration or account creation. Yes or no? That is the first and foremost thing, right? Right. Now tell me, what are the critical business flows for travel application?
User registration.
Again, user registration. Yes. Or account creation. Next.
Booking a ticket.
While booking a ticket, you search for first for
Search
availability.
for the
You
ticket.
search the availability, right? Search availability, and if available, you will book a ticket. Yes.
Canceling the ticket.
Payments.
Cancel ticket. Yes. Book some tour package. Yes or no? Tour
Yes, sir.
package or pilgrim package. Yes or no, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nowadays, most of the travel applications allow us to book
Book
hotel rooms
hotel
as well,
rooms and all.
accommodation as
Yes.
well. Right? What else? Print
Flight
ticket.
tickets.
Yes, of course. Flight tickets. Book a flight ticket. Book flight, bus or train ticket. Right? So I'll put it here. Book a ticket. So we can either it can be a bus or train or flight. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Most of the apps are allowing to book flight tickets also, flight tickets along with bus or train tickets, right? We have a lot of, can you list out some travel applications? Few more?
Abhibus.
Make my trip.
Right. Avibus, yeah. And so on, right? There are a lot of other travel applications. APSRTC.in, right? RTSRTC.in, KSRTC, right? So, but these are the operations, these are the business flows of that application, right? They get the business in this form. Like this is how we do normally with any travel application, right? Now what we do is like, is this point clear first of all?
Yes,
Important business flows, what is meant by
Yes,
important
sir.
business?
Clear.
Now, right now, if you want to do testing for a net banking application, right, what you do is we will develop one script for each of these. We will create one script for each of these. Okay, one script for account creation, one script for login and check balance. If you are testing net banking application, right, one script for fund transfer. Again, fund transfer, we have different types of fund transfer. What are the three different types of fund transfers in India?
Left.
IMPS,
Left
NEFT,
RTGS.
RTGS.
RTGS and
IMPS.
IMPS. Left RTGS and IMPS. What is the difference between those?
Fund transfer.
What is the difference between NEFT and RTGS?
At the real time process.
After we can
For RTGS, the minimum amount should be transferred is 2 lakh rupees.
Right. Yes. For NEFT.
It will be from 1 rupees to 99 lakh 99,999.
1,99,999.
Sorry?
Is it 1,99,000 or
No, sir, 99 lakh. Near
Up
to
to
1 crore,
99.
less than 1 rupee. Sir.
Okay.
For the 1
Okay.
crore.
But for RTGS, the minimum amount should be 2 lakhs.
Yes, there will not be any upper limit for RTGS.
Right. So basically, RTGS stands for real-time gross settlement. Okay. So transfer will be faster here. Whereas with NEFT, right, NEFT will be, processing will be processed, for every half an hour or every 1 hour. Nowadays, I think that is half an hour. Every half an hour, NEFT transactions will be processed. However, RTGS, you need not wait for that half an hour. Suppose, what is the time now? 7:53, right? Suppose if, at 8 o'clock, you initiate some NEFT transfer. So after 8:01 or 8:02 or 8:05, now that transaction, it will take at least half an hour for the next batch. This NEFT processing will be done in batches for every half an hour. Whereas RTGS, if we do RTGS at 8:05 or 8:06, right, it will be done in a couple of minutes or couple of seconds. Right? So this is RTGS, and IMPS is immediate payment service.
Immediate.
Right? You know that, right? IMPS. Now, so different types of fund transfer will be there. And now account statement, right? Add a beneficiary. So we develop one script for each of these. So when I say that we develop one script, we need not write any code. Please remember that we need not write any code. That is the beauty of performance testing. Okay. You will not be writing any code from scratch. Your performance testing tool will create the script. Okay. Most of the performance testing tools comes with a record and playback feature. Right. We'll see how can we create a script in the next session. Right. So for now, please remember that we need not write any code from scratch. Clear? Now what we do is we create one script for each of these business flows, And we run these scripts. Of course, we need to do some script enhancements. Means we cannot, simply replay the scripts. We cannot simply, record and replay the scripts, right? So if that is the case, we will not get, this much of salaries. I think yesterday I explained what are in the first demo session, I explained what are the, expected
Enhancements.
packages.
Yes, sir.
For 3 years experience, my students got like on an average 10 lakhs, about 10 lakhs as a package for 3 years experience, right? And one girl from Bangalore, like Hemashweta is her name. So she got 16.5 lakhs package for 4 years experience.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
So
great.
if it is simply record and playback, right? So we will not get that much salaries. Yes or no? Anyone can do that, right? So we have to do some script enhancements. That is what we are paid in lakhs. Okay. Now, so we develop one script for each of these business flow, and we will run those scripts with virtual users. We'll run those scripts with virtual users. Okay. We'll discuss that in detail. I just want to explain here what is the meaning of this statement. Simulate important business flows of your application and test the application under the target user load. Right? Just now I told, right, IRCTC will be used by IRCTC will be, these are the numbers released by IRCTC, guys. These are actual numbers released by IRCTC. It will be used by 4 to 5 lakh users per day. Right? And the number of tickets booked from 18 lakhs to 20 lakhs. You can Google search and find it out. Right? And IRCTC, out of this 20 lakhs, right? So 2 to 3 lakhs will be booked in reservation counters. We have IRCTC reservation counters, right?
Yes, sir.
There 2 to 3 lakhs tickets will be booked per day, and the remaining, 17 to 18 lakhs ticket will be booked on IRCTC website online. Yes, right. These are the actual numbers released by IRCTC when they came for an IPO last year. Okay. So to book these tickets, one can book one ticket to 6 tickets, right? I think 6 is the limit for IRCTC. Can someone confirm that? I am not using IRCTC from more than 5 years.
Yes, for one transaction, they own 6 tickets.
We can book 6 tickets, I think. Right? So there will be approximately 4 to 5 lakh users who will be using this IRCTC website, irctc.co.in. Now, if you want to test IRCTC, right, first you have to know what are the critical business flows, right? What are the critical business flows of that application, and how many users will be doing user registration per day. Let's assume that 10,000 users will be creating account. Sorry, 10,000 users may be booking new account, right? Let's assume that this will be done by some 10 lakh users. Not everyone will be booking ticket, right? Some will search and see the ticket may be available or not available. But such operation will be done in huge, right? By huge number of people. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Or let's say 5 lakhs. Okay, or 7 lakhs or 8 lakhs. Okay. Now, if you want to test IRCTC, right, we will develop one script for this and run with 10,000 users. Run that script with 10,000 users. How do we run that script with multiple users? I will explain that in the coming up sessions, right? For now, understand that these we figure out what are the critical business flows of the application. We develop one script for each of the critical business flow and execute that script with those many number of users. We'll get these numbers from the client. The client will be providing these numbers. How many people will be creating new accounts? How many people will be searching for tickets? How many tickets will be booked per day? How many people will be canceling ticket? All these numbers will be provided by the client, right? And we have to run those scripts with those many number of users. So this is what I mean to say here. Simulate important business flows of your application and test the application under target user load. Okay? This is understood, right? Target user load means what is the user load of the application? How many users use that application? That is called as target user load.
Yes, sir.
Right? Next, what is the purpose of doing this? Validating the application or server's readiness, right? Readiness ahead of peak events like Big Billion Sale or Black Friday sale. Right? This is for, this example is for applies for e-commerce application like.
Yes, sir.
Amazon.
What are the e-commerce applications that we are
Amazon.
using?
Flipkart, Amazon.
Flipkart on Amazon, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
all know this, right? What is Big Billion Sale and what is Black Friday sale, right? Black Friday is something related to US, right? Mostly like you will have lot of offers during Black Friday sale. Yes or no?
Yes,
right? Or there, there are several occasions in US like Thanksgiving Day, Black Friday, and all this, Christmas, yes, and New Year and all this, right? So whenever we have some peak events means there will be more number of users who will be using those applications. Yes or no?
Yes,
And there
sir.
are some peak events, right? Now we have to test before that event itself, that peak event itself. If it is Amazon or Flipkart, right, or some Walmart, right, Walmart.com, they have to test their application. They have to verify their application or servers readiness. If their servers are able to support those many number of users or not. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, what happens? If their servers are not ready, what happens?
application will be crashed.
Application will.
The application may crash and it will impact the revenue as well as reputation of the business, isn't it?
Yes.
Huge. If your application crashes, right, the impact will be very huge. Okay. So we have seen some incidents. See, observe here. Flipkart application crash, Big Billion Day. As soon as I type Flipkart, it is showing that, right? Flipkart server crashed on Big Billion Day, right? And let's see how much, what is the loss for because of this event. It will be in crores, guys. Yes or
Oh my
no?
God. Yes, sir.
The loss will be in crores, right? And it will, it will also not only impact the revenue, it will also impact the reputation of the company, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Suppose, you initiated a transaction, you want to buy a mobile or you want to buy some laptop or something. You made the payment. After that, it did not show the confirmation page. Now, what is, what would be our situation? Suppose you initiated some transaction on a Big Billion Day sale. You made the payment, right? So your amount was deducted from your bank account, but it did not show the confirmation page. Now, what would be your situation? There will be many things running in your mind, right? Whether I will get that money back or not, whether I will get that order or not. Yes or no? Right? So obviously it will impact the reputation of the company, right? So suppose if this happens on Flipkart, next time when there is a sale, will you go to Flipkart again?
No.
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 You will go for, what will you do? Still you want to buy online, then what will you do?
We are going to another.
Similar application. Any
right.
another
Obviously you will go for their competitor. Now it is a double whammy effect, right? Double effect, right? So double loss. On one side, your company is losing business, and that business on the other side, that business is going to the competitor. Your competitor becomes strong. Yes or no? And once you switch to another company, or once you switch to another, e-commerce site, you may not come back to Flipkart again, right? So because of this, if such events happen, right, there is a risk that, that customer will be lost forever. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? You may lose that customer forever. Okay, that customer may not prefer to come back to Flipkart again if that happens, isn't it? So it will not only impact the revenue as well as it will impact the reputation, and your competitor will become strong, right? For any business, if this applies for any business. You remember, like, 10 years back, when I used to use IRCTC, it used to fail at some or other page while entering the passenger details or while making payment, right? Or when selecting the train, when selecting the entering the passenger numbers or entering payment details, it used to fail. Thereafter, I started using MakeMyTrip or some other website, right? Clear, guys?
Yes,
So we never go to that, website if it is, performance is not good, right? And we test the application stability before and after version release. We'll discuss this later. So this is, you understood the importance of performance testing and how do we do performance testing? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? Interesting, guys.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. It
It's
is.
interesting.
Right now, if you want to do performance testing, right, you need not, suppose you want to test any application with 1 lakh users, or let's say, can you do it manually? Can you do load testing manually? Suppose you
No,
want
sir.
to test an application with some 10,000 users, let's say 10,000 users. You need not, engage 10,000 machines. If you want to do manually, right, without any tool, you have to engage 10,000 testers and you have to engage 10,000 computers, right? But which is practically not possible, not a good idea, right?
Yes, sir.
So we use some tools like LoadRunner or JMeter for doing this performance testing. We have around like 30 to 40 tools in the market. So I'll show some performance testing tools in the market and I'll close the session for today. These are the popular performance testing tools in the market. LoadRunner, Microfocus LoadRunner, Apache JMeter, NeoLoad, WebLoad, Microfocus Silk Performer, IBM RPT. This is developed by RPT, Rational Performance Tester, developed by IBM, right? By IBM company itself. And we have something called Gatling, Locust, Grinder, Load Ninja, Load View, Load UI Pro, and so on. There are a lot of other tools in the market, guys, but these are the popular tools, right? And the beauty of performance testing is you need not write any code like in automation testing. Please note this. Okay. So for automation testing, if you go for Selenium, you have to learn Java and you need to write a lot of Java code, or Python, or Selenium with C#. You should know one of these languages. Okay. However, for performance testing, you need not be an expert in any language. You just need to know basics of some C language or Java language. Only basics, right? Because we will not be writing code from scratch. Your performance testing tool will create the script for you. We'll see that in the next session, one of the next session demo sessions. How do we create a script and how do we run a test, right? So I'll close it for today. I'll stop it here and like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is for recording purposes. Yes. Any queries before we close the session?
And
Yes,
why
sir.
we only use LoadRunner and JMeter apart from this?
What is that? Can you please repeat that?
Why we only use LoadRunner and only JMeter? Why can't we use any other tools? Is there a difference between other tools and this tools?
Yes. So no, we don't use only JMeter and LoadRunner. There are multiple other tools. Okay. There are different tools. Different organizations or different clients prefer different tools. Okay, but these are the major tools in the market. Why these are major tools is LoadRunner is the pioneer tool. LoadRunner is the pioneer tool. Pioneer means the first tool which is developed for performance testing. LoadRunner is the very first tool which is developed for performance testing. Okay. And though it is a licensed one, still it has 40 to 50% of the market share. Though it's a licensed one, because it supports multiple protocols. You can test any type of application with LoadRunner. You can test a SAP application, or you can test a CBEL application, CBEL CRM application. You can test web application or mobile application, any kind of like from legacy mainframes to, right? Legacy means very old one, right? From mainframes application to the latest internet technologies, any application can be performance tested with LoadRunner. That's the reason like LoadRunner is the most popular tool. Still, it is the most popular tool, and only this particular tool has 40 to 50% of the market share now. Still, it has 40 to 50%. Though Apache JMeter is a completely open source tool, free tool, right? It still has like around 30% market share. Rest all the tools have the remaining market share. Yeah. Any other queries?
I have
someone is asking, is performance testing done for only banking and e-commerce applications? No, absolutely no. So performance testing is done for all kind of applications. Like if you take any retail applications, like suppose one second. So let me list out some organizations that I know. SBI performance testing is done by Tech Mahindra, and they are using LoadRunner tool. Okay. As far as latest information that I have, SBI net banking application, right? Performance testing is done by Tech Mahindra, like 2 years back. I'm not sure about now. right? And in that way, like, you have
Yes, sir,
different.
I have one doubt, sir.
Yes, and performance testing is not done only for banking and e-commerce applications. It is
Hello?
done for any kind of application. Yes, yes, I will come to you. Performance testing is done for any kind of application, like a travel application. It can be a supermarket, web application used by supermarket, Walmart.com. All these, all the applications require performance testing. Yes.
Pawan, I have one question. So,
Yes,
Pawan, you were explaining that with the load runner, we can test from the legacy to today's latest containerization technologies or something. So
Right.
the same can be tested with the JMeter also?
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
So there are some limitations with respect to that
There
JMeter usage.
Exactly. So JMeter has
Okay.
some limitations. So it can support only 10 protocols as of now. Right? At the moment, or as of now, JMeter supports hardly 10 protocols, 10 or 15 protocols. But LoadRunner supports like 30 plus protocols. Let me show you quickly.
Okay. So
Okay,
can we test with
View,
containerization based applications also with JMeter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
This is how LoadRunner Vision looks like. And let me show you like what are the different protocols supported by LoadRunner. Now, the next question is, what is meant by protocol? Anyone? Some of you have some performance testing background, right? I mean, some of you are already trained somewhere else or previously, couple of months back.
So how the application is interacting with TCP, UDP, or which protocol it is trying to connect to that server?
Right. So protocol is the communication language between your client and the server, browser and the server. We'll discuss that in the next sessions. So as I came across this, I had to explain. Observe here, these are the different protocols supported, or these are the different applications supported by LoadRunner. Here you can see Citrix protocol, LoadRunner supports Citrix protocol, FTP protocol, right? And all these Oracle 2-tier, Oracle Web, right? MQTT means Internet of Things, IoT. We call, in short, this is called as IoT, right? Internet of Things, LDAP servers, right? And you have Oracle NCA. These are the different protocols supported by LoadRunner. You see here SAP Web, SAP GUI. SAP Web can be tested with both LoadRunner and JMeter. But however, SAP GUI applications can be tested with only LoadRunner. JMeter doesn't support SAP GUI application, or JMeter doesn't support CBEL web applications, CBEL applications. Right? So JMeter has some limitations. And whereas if you see LoadRunner, right, so it supports almost all protocols. Clear? So that's the reason it is still the market leader. And that's the reason it still has, even though the license cost is very huge for LoadRunner, still it is the market leader because it's a, it is a legacy, it is a pioneer application, right? LoadRunner was first developed in 1999. It's more than 22 years old. Okay, I will give that, I will cover that when we go to LoadRunner, right? I will explain that. Okay, when I'm giving LoadRunner introduction, I will explain that. Let me quickly show that. I have separate slide decks for LoadRunner and JMeter. Okay. See, LoadRunner was developed first in 1999. Okay, by a company called Mercury. So it's a 22 years plus old tool, right? And of course, this number is a old number actually. I think this is in 2018. Like it has 70% market share. Now it came down to 50% because open source tools are gaining market share. Like JMeter and Gatling, these are gaining market share, occupying some market share, but LoadRunner still has 40 to 50% of the market share, right? One tool having 50% market share is not a not a easy thing, right?
Yes.
We'll discuss that in detail. Okay. Any other queries, guys? So what are the topics I covered today? Yes. SDLC, testing life cycle. What is SDLC, guys?
Software development life cycle.
Software development life cycle, testing life cycle, and introduction to performance testing. Yeah, isn't it? Okay, let me pass recording. Meet you tomorrow, same time. Okay, 7 to 8 p.m. Enrollments are still in progress. Like please refer any friends or relatives who are in job search. Right. This is going to be a 200 hours training, 100 hours, 80 to 100 hours for load runner and 80 to 100 hours for JMeter. Right. Performance testing fundamentals. I will cover performance testing fundamentals for 10 to 15 hours in detail. And then I'll start, load runner in one batch and JMeter in another batch. Right. If someone want to do parallelly also, yes, you can do that. If you want to do one after another also, one tool after another also, yes, there is a possibility with me. Right. I'll be running these training sessions for both load runner, JMeter, and I'm planning to start Dynatrace as a weekend batch. Okay. Just for your information, I'm passing recording this. Yeah. Thanks for watching and thanks for have a nice day. Course contents. Okay. Let me show you course contents. I already shared this in the WhatsApp group. Okay. Maybe you joined late. So these are the course contents for JMeter. All right. So I will cover like, you asked about like non-GM mode, test execution in non-GM mode and in Linux as well. Isn't it? Yes, I will cover. 1 second. If that is listed in the course contents or not. But I have that. I cover that as well. JMeter test executions. Okay. JMeter distributed testing. Of course, I did not mention here in Linux environment, but let me quickly show you JMeter PPT. Okay. So wherein I cover all those. Recording. Right. So let me repeat that for recording purpose. So I do cover like master slave configuration in both Windows environment and Linux environment. Here you can see this is for Windows environment and this is for Linux environment, right? And for every batch I maintain a tracker. Let me show you in the previous batch, right? Latest JMeter batch is done. This batch, this one. Okay. So let me quickly show you that, master slave. Yeah, here you can see this. Master slave configuration, right? And controller worker configuration in Linux that was covered on this particular day. Okay, so for every batch, I maintain a tracker like this. Just you have seen that April batch tracker, right? So the same way for every batch, I maintain a tracker like this, where I list out what are the concepts that are covered on each day and what is the duration and all this.
Scripting will also be covered, right?
Yes. I also shared, like I have also shown yesterday, what are the scripting scenarios that will be covered. Okay, most of the training institutes cover only 1 or 2 applications, but for me, it will take more time because of this. I cover like 4 to 5 demo applications and 2 real-time applications. Okay, these are the different applications that I cover in scripting. And these are the step-by-step navigation. Okay, if you observe here, this is the step-by-step navigation for Advantage Online Shopping. This is one of the demo applications that I cover in scripting. So like this, you see here, there are these, I'll cover around like 15 to 20 scripts. Okay. As you can see here, you see at the bottom, right? AOS order random laptop, Udemy script, and order first laptop, browser each laptop page. So I'll cover most of the scripts that will be given in scripting tests. Or else, I'll cover almost like all the scenarios, different scenarios. And this is the list of scripts that I cover in the scripting.
Do you also cover?
I'll share this Excel sheet. I'll share the PPT, and I'll share the contents document once to confirm your joining.
Okay. Do you also cover Zabbix?
What is that?
Zabbix is a tool for monitoring network service.
No. Right now, I'm not covering that.
Okay.
So whatever tools, like I had experience, like I can cover those. Whatever tools I am very strong on, like I will cover those. right? So once load runner and JMeter is completed, I will start. I will start Dynatrace as a weekend batch. Okay. Yeah. Any other queries? Yeah.
What is the exact duration? I require only JMeter. So
for only JMeter, like only JMeter tool comes around 1 month. Okay. Or in number of hours, if you want to say in number of hours, it will be 50 to 60 hours. Okay. And performance testing fundamentals, it will take 10 to 15 hours. And monitoring and analysis, like that is another important area, right? Monitoring and analysis, server side monitoring and all this. Those monitoring and analysis, all this takes another 15 hours. So that's why the total duration comes to around 70 to 80 hours for JMeter. 70 to 80 hours for load runner, as well as another 70 to 80 hours for load runner. Okay. The total course duration is, as I mentioned here, it will be around like 160 to 200 hours. Okay. Most of the cases it will be touching 200 hours. Here you can see. Here I mentioned like the breakup, like out of those 200 hours, like how much time will be spent on each tool. Here you can see 80 plus hours for load runner, 80 plus hours for JMeter. Performance testing fundamentals 10 to 15 hours. The rest of the time is for monitoring and analysis. Okay. And Dynatrace 20 to 25 hours. This is optional and this is a separate course.
Okay.
See, I will cover basic SQL queries, SQL tools like Toad, dbeaver, DB Visualizer, Git and GitHub. I will cover basic Java concepts required for performance testing needs, monitoring with open source tools and analysis, and basic performance engineering. And these are the protocols that I cover: web services, and API testing with both load runner and JMeter.
The advanced concepts
there are some
here,
more tools like developer tools, Fiddler, and all these small tools. Yeah, you are asking something?
Yeah, advanced concepts for working, the second one, and advanced concepts for, will this be covered, everything? Or?
This is a separate course. This is a separate course, separate fees for that.
Okay. Thank you. Can you please share the course?
Yeah. Please drop me your email ID in WhatsApp. Ping me your email ID in WhatsApp. I will mail those.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay then. Okay, guys. So I'm closing the session for today. It's already 8:30. So I'm closing the session, guys.
Yes.